All of the homework for chapter 8 is out of the book. No worksheets, okay? Homework 13. I was thinking first homework of chapter 8, which is homework 13, is due next week on Wednesday, March 25th. Okay? You can also get those numbers from our Canvas page. All right, so let's hit it. So we're going to sine, cosine, tangent. Who's heard of the acronym SOHCAHTOA? All right, so sine equals opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. Tangent, opposite over adjacent. And it's very important that when you are setting up your ratios that you follow that. In other words, if you're using sine, you have to put opposite in the numerator and hypotenuse in the denominator. All right, so now let's talk about some references that we're going to need, because we will find angles and sides in this chapter. All angles, we always use capital letters, okay? Sides are lowercase letters. All right, so looking here, little bitty b is going to be opposite big B. So opposite of big B would be the hypotenuse. So that means that this side is little b. Opposite of angle C is little c. So the adjacent side would be little c. Opposite capital A is little a. That's important, because we will solve triangles. And what that means is when you solve a triangle, we're going to fill in anything we don't know. Okay? Now, all your calculators should be in degree mode. Remember, there's two ways to do an angle. We could do degrees or radians. From this point forward, no more radians. No more unit circle. So no pi over 3, no 2 pi over 3, none of that. So we're only going to reference angles in degrees, okay? Again, there is a way to convert your calculator from degrees to radians, but I'm about 99.99% sure that every calculator has been set in degree mode. If you notice you're not getting the answers that I'm getting, let me know and I'll change the mode. Okay. If you're trying to find an angle, angles are inside, which means we're going to use the inverse. For an angle, we have to use the inverse. Inverse. So when you look at your calculator, above sine, cosine, and tangent, you should see the exact same ratios with a little -1 next to it. Does everybody see that? That's your inverse. So if you're trying to find an angle, you have to hit the green button first and then the ratio. So if I'm trying to find the inverse tangent, I have to hit the green button first and then tangent. And then the calculator will get a little -1 next to it. All right, so I think that's all we got. Let's go. So hopefully you remember how to find opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse. If not, we're going to review. This is the angle I'm talking about. Opposite of the 90-degree angle is always the hypotenuse. All right, so that means that this side is my hypotenuse. Which one of these sides, the 12 or the x, is right next to 53? 12. Another word for right next to is adjacent. So this is A, which means X is O. All right, the side that we're not using is the side that's not labeled. What side isn't labeled? H. So I'm actually going to take that away. We don't need it. We need O and A. So here's the hard part. What trig ratio are we going to use? Which one uses only opposite and adjacent? Tangent. So let's set it up. So you're going to write the tangent of 53 degrees equals opposite, which is x, over adjacent, which is 12. I'm in a habit of making the other side a fraction, but you don't have to do that. So now we're just cross multiplying. So when I multiply this direction, 1 times x, that's just x. And that's going to equal, now let's multiply this direction, 12 times the tangent of 53. So pick up your calculators, type in 12 times the tangent of 53. X is not an angle. X is on the outside, so we are not using the inverse. Everything we do in chapter 8 is to the thousands place. How many zeros are in $1,000? 3. So I need 3 numbers after the decimal. So when I type it in my calculator, 12 times the tangent of 53, I get 15.92. Now, do I keep that a 4 or does that round to a 5? Rounds to a 5. Remember, 5 or more, you raise the score. 4 or less, you let it rest. One of my kids in middle school taught me that when I tutored. All right, let's go ahead and look at number 2. Now this is my angle. Yes. Yes, just type that in the calculator. That's not what you got? Oh, it is a 15. Why did I say 19? I don't know why I did that. I'm sorry. Thank you. It's definitely 15. It's 15.925. Sorry. All right, let's look at number 2. All right, number 2, we got 2 sides labeled. Opposite of the 90 degree is 10. That's my hypotenuse. What is x? Is x opposite the 55 or adjacent to the 55? So that's an A. What ratio uses A and H? Cosine. So we're going to take the cosine of 55. That's going to equal adjacent over hypotenuse. Go ahead, cross multiply just like we did the last one. And see what you get to the thousands place. All right, so I got 5.73. Is that going to be a 6 or is it a 5? 6. That is my answer. All right, let's look at number 3. So this is my angle. 16 is my hypotenuse. What is x? Opposite. What trig ratio am I using? Sine. Sine of 20 degrees equals opposite over hypotenuse. Go ahead and solve it. Okay, who agrees with my answer? 5.472. All right, any questions about that so far? So far, we okay? Do we remember this from geometry-ish? All right. Now let's look at 4, 5, and 6. Now 4, 5, and 6, they're not asking us to find a side. It's asking us to find an angle, which means I have to use the inverse. So we have to hit the green key before we can find the angle. So this is x. X is right here. All right. What is the 44 in this triangle? Hypotenuse. What is the 39? Opposite. What trig ratio am I using? Sine. So now to get x, it's going to be the inverse sine of 39 over 44. So hit the green key, then hit sine, and then type in 39 over 44. So for this one, we get 62.4198. So we're actually going to have to round that to 62.42. So x is going to be 62.42 degrees because we're finding an angle. Don't forget your little symbol for degrees. All right, let's look at number 5. So this is x. Now we just need to figure out what is the 2 and what is the 5. So what do we think 2 is? Adjacent. And what is the 5? Opposite. What trig ratio uses O and A? So x equals the inverse tangent. It's very important that you set up your ratio correctly. Opposite has to be in the numerator. Adjacent has to be in the denominator. So if you put 2 over 5, that is not right. It's 5 over 2. All right, go ahead, type that in. So I get 68.19. Is that going to be an 8 or a 9 next?
No, 9.
What's after the 8? 5. So that's going to round the 8 up to a 9. Okay, so now that we have that, we're ready to start solving. All solving means is that anything they didn't give us, we have to find. So by the end of the question, we should know the measure of all 3 angles and the length of all 3 sides. So let's look at example 1. First thing I recommend you do is draw a right triangle. So I'm going to draw a right triangle. Remember, capital letters are angles, lowercase letters are sides. So do you see how it says capital C is 90 degrees? So that means I have to put the C right here. Because it told us in our question that big C, that's the 90. All right, so we got 2 more sides or 2 more angles, A and B. It doesn't matter if you call this one A or B or this one A or B. I always put the one that comes first in the alphabet on top though. So I'm going to put the A on top, the B on the bottom. But again, when you're doing this in your homework, you can flip-flop A and B, but you cannot change C. C has to be the right angle. The 90-degree angle. All right, so then it told us that little a is 7. So if this is where my big A is, opposite of big A would be in between angles C and B. So I want you to put a 7 right here. A 7. And then it told me that angle B, See, it's a capital letter. All right, it's 50. So I'm going to put a 50 right here. All right, so what don't I know? I do not know the measure of angle A, so I have to find that. I also don't know little b, so I got to find that. And I got to find little c. So the easiest one to start with is big A. Who remembers triangle sum? What do the angles, every single triangle, no matter if it's a right, an obtuse, it could be isosceles, it could be scale, it doesn't matter. Every single triangle, what do the angles add up to on the inside? 180, good. So that means that angle A, which is big A, is going to equal 180 minus the right angle minus angle B. So you should get 40 degrees. Anybody get 40? All right, good. All right, so now I'm going to find little b. Little b is opposite big B. So opposite would be this side. So little b is in between angles A and C. So I'm going to put my little b right there. All right, let's label what we know. Using the 50-degree angle, I always prefer, even though I know angle A is 40, I always prefer to use what was given in the question if possible. I'm going to use the 50, okay? If you will get the same answer if you use A as your reference angle, but I'm using angle B. 7, what is that 7? Is it opposite, adjacent, or the hypotenuse? What is B, little b? Opposite. So what am I using? Sine, cosine, or tangent? Oof. O and A. Which one has O and A? Tangent. So I'm going to do tangent of 50 equals B over 7. You have to set up the ratio correctly. Opposite is in the numerator, adjacent is in the denominator. Go ahead and solve it. Cross multiply and solve it for B. And we're not trying to find an angle, so we're not using inverse, just regular tangent. All right, who agrees with my answer? 8.342. Okay, so now we're left with only one side. There are two different ways we can approach this, and I'm going to show you both because it's up to you which way you decide. You get the same, or not the same, but, well, yeah, the answers are the same, whichever method you choose, okay? So the first method would be, so I'm not using this anymore. I'm trying to find little c, which is what? That's my hypotenuse. So now I'm switching to A and H, which is what? SOHCAHTOA. So it would be cosine. So it would be, this is one option. I'm going to show you both. So you could do the cosine of 50 degrees equals adjacent over hypotenuse. So let's go ahead and do that. So when I multiply this direction, I get C times the cosine of 50. I'm going to put that in parentheses because there's two C's. And that equals 1 times 7. You going to type that in the calculator? 1 times 7? Anybody know it? We know it? 1 times 7? Okay. 7. So now I have to do what to solve for C? Divide it, because C is being multiplied by the cosine. So this is our first time we've actually had to divide. So C equals 7 divided by cosine of 50. So go ahead and type that in your calculator. Okay. All right, 1 second, y'all. I just want to see something. Wait. Did you all get 10.49 for C? I'm sorry, 10.89 for C? Okay. All right, so now let's look at another way. The other way would be to use the Pythagorean theorem. So the Pythagorean theorem is C squared equals A squared plus B squared. C has to be the hypotenuse though. Whatever the hypotenuse of the triangle is, that has to be C. So it just so happens that in this diagram, C is the hypotenuse. So that would be C squared equals A squared, which is little b. So it's 8.342, thank you. 42 squared plus 7 squared. So that means C is going to be the square root of 8.342 squared plus 7 squared. Go ahead and type that in your calculator. You should still get 10.89. Did you get 10.89? I know it's 10.8898, but we're going to round that to 10.89. So again, it does not matter how you choose to find that third side. You can use trig or you can use the Pythagorean theorem. All right, we just have one more question and then we will end for today. We're going to solve one more triangle and then we'll pick up here on Monday. All right, so this time the triangle is BCD. So I'm going to draw my right triangle. Now notice it says that B is my 90-degree angle. So I have to put my capital B right here. That has to be where I put my capital B. Has to be next to the 90. Doesn't matter about C and D. They can flip-flop, but I'm going to put C at the top because it comes before D in the alphabet. The second thing it tells us is that big C is 43 degrees. So I'm going to put a 43 right here. And then it tells me little b, which is opposite of my 90, is 14. So what don't we know? We don't know angle D. So capital D. We also don't know little c. We don't know that. Or little d. All right, what do you think is the easiest to find? Capital D. Let's do that. Use your triangle sum. All right, so I got 47 for capital D. Anybody else get 47? All right, so now I'm going to go with little c. Little c is down here at the bottom. Little c is in between angles B and D. So let's label our triangle. 14 is our what? Hypotenuse. And what is little c in correlation to that 43 degree? Is it opposite or adjacent? Opposite. What trig ratio am I going to use? Opposite and hypotenuse. Sine. So I have the sine of 43 degrees equals opposite over hypotenuse. Go ahead and solve it. All right, what did you all get? 9.548. Good. 9.548. All right, so the third side, I'm going to set up both methods. First method would be to use trig. So I know that this is little d, and little d is adjacent to the 53. So option number 1 would be to use what? Adjacent and hypotenuse is what? Cosine. So this is option 1. Take the cosine of 43 and set that equal to adjacent over hypotenuse. Go ahead and solve it. Anybody else get 10.239? All right, I'm going to do the other way just because I would be bad if I didn't show you. The second way, let's go ahead and write that down. Now, which side is the hypotenuse? Little what? Little b. So I'm going to set it up. Little b is going to equal c squared plus d squared. Hypotenuse always has to come first. And in this example, that's little b. So that would be 14 squared equals 9.548 squared plus d squared. So before we pick up a calculator, let's solve this for d. First thing I would do is subtract the 9.548 squared, which would be 14 squared minus 9.548 squared. And that equals d squared. And then I would take the square root. So the second way would be to take the square root of 14 squared minus 9.548 squared. Go ahead and type it in and verify that you get the same answer, 10.239. And when you are taking your test, which, by the way, is after spring break, is April 15th. Wait, when is prom again?
April 18th.
Okay. I keep forgetting that. Okay. You can use whichever way you want. Because when I type that in my calculator, did you all still get 10.239? All right. So use the way you want to use. If it's right, how can I mark it wrong? All right, we are going to end there for today. Have a great weekend, and we will pick up here on Monday.